This is Chrion. Welcome to the gameplay guide for Chiron. Yep. Thank you, Chiron, for the introduction. Well, Chiron is an ability-based hunter. He's not exactly... of course, every hunter can be built with auto attack speed based if you want. But he's more suited as an ability damage caster. He has a lot of scaling on his abilities. I think his 1 has a 80% scaling, his 2 has a 80% scaling, the 3 is 50%, something like that. We can have a closer look later when we're back in the God tab. And the ultimate is, I believe, a total scaling of 120% physical or something like that. But like I said, Chiron, since he's an ability-based hunter, he also falls off after a while. He's pretty good in metas where burst damage is king, when, let's say, when all the raw physical, when a few of the raw physical power items are buffed and the attack speed builds are inferior to the raw damage builds, then he's a great pick. Other than that, he's probably not the best hunter outside of these metas. Let's go to level 20 and then let's check quick how we would build him. So technically we would go rush Transcendence on him. Then we might get the Jotuns for reduced cooldown, or a Crusher. That depends. Gives a little bit of attack speed, 40 physical power right now, and also flat pen. But I think in conjunction with the mana conversion from Transcendence, it's a bit of a tough decision if we would get this or this first. I probably would opt for this first, then get the Jotuns. Then I would pick up Beatstick. Then get Heartseeker. And as the final item, Titan's Bane looks good. And should we go to super late game or something, then we can sell the Crusher maybe for one of the starter items. Like Bluestone Brooch, so we throw this out and add level 20. And this is item number 7. This would deal a lot more damage than the Crusher would do, the passive from the Crusher would do. So this would be pretty much the late game build, the end game build. Maybe we can also sell the Jotuns. But I would personally just sell the Crusher and get the Bluestone Brooch late for him. So yeah. Upgrade here. Then we have a look at his abilities. So as you can see, his one is his passive is called Herbal Medicine. Every 12 seconds, Chiron collects herbs for a poultice. And each time he uses an ability, a poultice is consumed to heal himself. That's the 3 symbols in the passive meter on the left here. Those will charge up over time. And when the poultice is consumed, he heals himself or an ally within 30 units based on who has the lowest health. Healed allies also gain physical and magical power. The healing per stack is 30 plus 5 per god level over 5 seconds. It's pretty good in the early game. It falls off really hard in the mid game already. The physical power is nice. The magical power, it's a total of 3 stacks you can get from the poultice. But the passive falls off really quick, being useful. So that is sort of one of his traits, character traits, that marks him as an early game god. In the early game, he's fantastic. He's also still good in the mid game. When we're going towards late game, he gets outperformed by most other hunters. He still does chunk with an appropriate build, which we talked about already. But he will definitely fall off. And then there is this one, it's called Training Exercise. This is the main clear ability, and this is also the first ability we are going to max out. It's a ground target spell, as you can see in the indicator, which you can place down like this. Then it has some wind up time before it applies damage. This is also a nice ability for your team. It provides a little bit of utility when you cast it beneath an ally. That ally is immune to crowd control for 0.3 seconds, or the multiple allies. Depends how many are standing on that. And yeah, like I said, before it goes off, you need to. This takes a while. About 2 seconds, roughly. So this 2 is called Masterful Shot. This is every time Chiron hits an enemy with a basic attack or with a spell, you get a little bullseye indicator on the god, and as you can see, a Masterful Shot is isn't blocked anymore. When you hit an enemy, you can of course hit multiple enemies, and then they all have then they're all susceptible for the Masterful Shot. As you can see, we used the one on the 3 audience in the front and applied the Masterful Shot indicator, and then we can press then we press Masterful Shot, and then some arrows are homing in on the enemy. It also doesn't matter if the enemy is already in his home base, it will always land. This ability also reduces physical protection on the hit enemies. It lasts, the marks last 3.5 seconds. It will also slow the enemy down, and yeah, like I said, it's seeking arrows. They're homing in on the targets no matter where they are on the map when they are marked. It's a pretty nice ability. It does also quite a lot of, in the early game, it does quite a lot of damage. And yeah, it's very, I would say this is sort of unique among hunters. There's no other hunter with a similar ability. His 3 is a dash, it's called Giddy Up. He charges forwards. And while he's charging, you can fire basic attacks. Let's showcase this quickly. When you hit an enemy god, he will also be knocked up, like this. This is a great ability to chase enemies down or to get out of a sticky situation with the knockup. Chasing him down would look something like this, and then you can still fire your basics while you're running in. It gives also a little bonus power. It also gives bonus power while it's up. We're at 450, now we're at 500. So we can do while we are charging a little bit more damage, or actually moderate amount of more damage with the power buff that's applied on it. It also does some damage, but it's actually lower base damage than the other abilities, and also the scaling is, I believe, only around 45 or 50%. And then last but not least, Centaurus. It's a line shot ability. Chiron transforms into a stellar constellation. You can fire 3 long distance shots. Those even go through terrain, walls, for example. If Chiron is killed during the ability, he does not die until he runs out, until the ability ends, or he has no shots left. When you kill an enemy with this ability, Chiron, when Chiron would have died, it would return him to life with health equal to the damage dealt instead. And of course, Centaurus also marks the enemy, and then you can use Masterful Shot afterwards in case you need to finish him off or something like that. So technically we can use this one to reduce incoming crowd controls, also not reduce, remove, make us immune or our entire team immune if they fit into the ground target area. And a pretty nice ability, adds a lot of value for team fights later on. But of course, with a 0.3 second window, it needs to be timed well. Then yeah, Masterful Shot, yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Either to finish a god off or to chase him down easier, as it slows, and it also does quite some damage. Giddy Up is his escape, or one of his, or also can be used as a chasing tool. Let's say we want to run away, then we just do that. And if we want to chase down an enemy, we can, that's what it's good for as well, so we can just run after him. And let's have a look at his ultimate. So we are at a constellation now, we can fire 3 shots. They dish out, it's a very high amount of damage if you land all 3 shots, and there's also no restriction on subsequent shots. They will always hit for the same amount of damage, and you can hit multiple enemies with it. So the scaling is actually pretty insane. Since it's 3 shots and you would hit all 5 gods, there would be a base damage of 4,500. Well, am I doing the math right now? Yeah, roughly like 4,600 damage if you get all 3 shots and all 5 enemy gods off. Plus, I believe this is a total of 120% scaling, but we can look at that when we go back into the lobby now. So we're going back, we will be queuing up. Then we look at the possible build once more. And then we also can check out the possible numbers. So basically we can start with Bluestone Pendant. Then we would build Transcendence into either Crusher or Crusher, Jotuns, like that. Then we need to look at what we need next. Have they started building a lot of protections? Titan Span, do they heal a lot? Broader speed stick. Just swap the order then. Let's assume they would heal a lot or not building much protections. Beatstick. Then we would get the Titan Span. Then we probably upgrade. Also, we will definitely upgrade the Bluestone Pendant to Bluestone Brooch. Something like that. Build order can also vary a little bit. It could be, but we should aim for penetration and something like this. I would even probably not build Beatstick only in situations where there's a lot of healing. I would instead get Heartseeker for more damage. Also to shred tanks. So, and then we can technically, if it goes super late game, also remove the Crusher. And get some other high physical power item. Like, yeah, maybe a Bloodforge just to increase the raw physical power stats. Dominance maybe. Yeah, dominance would be a bit overkill on the penetration end. So I would say Bloodforge, even though this is a terrible item on hunters, since it doesn't provide any hunter sought after spell stats. But of course this is a possibility, and then we have with Transcendence plenty of power, probably sitting at I don't know, past nearly 500 physical damage. I do believe what also could work on him, but it would depend on if the enemy have built much hit points or not. Would be Bomber Spare instead of Bluestone Brooch, since it adds 30 more physical power, 10% penetration, and also more cooldown reduction. But this would be then situational. You would have to decide, do we need to do more do we need to do more HP damage, percentage HP damage with our abilities, then we would get the Bluestone Brooch. Or did they just build a lot of a lot of protections, but not much hit points? Then the Bomber Spare would be probably the better choice. Abilities, I think we would level like this. This year's second, but only 1 point into it for the level 2 in lane. So when we get ganked early on, or we need to run from the fight or chase the enemy down, then it's nice to have Giddy Up. Masterful Shot second, training exercise, and we would get the ultimate, training exercise, Masterful Shot, ultimate, maxed out training exercise, then we would start maxing out Masterful Shot. And again, and the ultimate, and then that's Masterful Shot maxed out. Then we can max out Giddy Up until we can spend the point in Centaurus. Then we would max out Giddy Up, and last but not least, level 20, the ultimate Centaurus, and then we'd be ready to go. Attack speed builds are okay on him, but I think we will deal a lot more damage with raw physical power stats, so we can make use of the high scalings on our abilities, training exercise at 80%, Masterful Shot at 80%, Giddy Up's only 50%, it's also nice. It's not a 40% scaling, it's actually a 60% scaling, so we have a total of 180% scaling with the ultimate. If we hit all 5 enemies, then we have an ultimate scaling of 900%, which is just insane. But it's highly unlikely that we hit all 3 shots on all 5 enemies in a game. It's probably rarely the case. So let's hop into a game, and then we look at it, how he fares in an actual gameplay situation. I personally do think he's very well suited for people who want to pick up the hunter role, and also for beginners. He's a good pick since his kit is pretty much very easy to use. Masterful Shot will always land when the enemy was marked. It's like homing missiles. Training exercise isn't hard to land. Centaurus, maybe from max distance, would be hard to land. And yeah, well, hitting Giddy Up or escaping with Giddy Up is not the biggest deal in general. Where is he? Here he is. Let's play with the funny. Okay, let's go with the bright skin, rainbows, and whistles and bells and whatever. Yeah, I think overall it's pretty fun to play. Just keep in mind, in the late game and also and especially in the super late game, he will fall off insanely hard. So make sure games end quite early, and he's still very decent in the mid game, but his major strength is definitely in the early game, even when yeah, well, let's just say when the meta favors ability-based hunters, then he's nice. Then he might also work quite good in the late game, but then he's mainly just a threat to squishies. He's not going to really burst tanks down. Especially not when those sitting at like 4k HP and have like 250 physical protections. This is where the problems picking him could kick in. But he's one of the strongest gods hunters in the early game. Yeah, let's get going with Transcendence. Get some beats. Jesus Christ, the skin and this voice pack. Just insane. Let's do it one more. Well, this one is also really good for clearing the wave. As you can see, the sustain in this kit is also pretty nice in the early game. We lost next to no hit points at all. Let's pick up the Transcendence. Alright, thanks for looking, I guess. So this is one of the major weaknesses when you fall behind with Chiron. Your game is pretty much over, sort of. Playing him from behind is just outright terrible. Mm-hmm. Let's get Jotuns. Yeah, I guess with the Heart Seeker and the Bluestone Brooch in the end, oh my god, we scale it a little bit better into the mid and late game. But it's of course not nowhere near as where some of the attack speed steroid hunters are sitting. Those will of course outperform us by a large margin. So this was one of the rare situations where we actually died, but we've killed one of the enemy gods and got turned back to life again. Let's wait for the 100 gold so we can pick up the charged Morning Star and then get and then we get the Heartseeker. I have no idea what the Guan is actually waiting for. Yeah. The skin is actually awesome. As if this Quan would actually if you would actually this Quan would actually ult just the enemy, we would totally dominate those, but I'm not sure what this guy is waiting for. So maybe he's waiting for a super late game, I have no idea. I think we alter the build a slightly bit. I want Abilit's bow, but it will be the only attack speed item, since that scales pretty good with the amount of But usually we wouldn't build Odysseus at least. Odysseus bow at least not with this path here, but I think we could use the extra DPS a little bit. It's not that much, but it all adds up in the end. This is what the hell is Chrion waiting for? Some so let's get the Titan spin. It Whoa. What? I have really no idea if this Chrion is a new player or...
An ally has been slain.
Oh. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, it's amazing. I'm really not sure what's going on in this game, but really nice.
An enemy has been slain. They're on a rampage. Just don't knock any. Looks like they got a bit full of themselves. The 2-for-1 special. That's what they get for opposing master. Next time, let me handle it. This wasn't worth getting your hands dirty.
Over and out.
Oh yeah. Right, nice. That was the Chiron video. It was a bit boring, but we could show a tiny bit what the god is capable of in a gameplay situation. Was really weird. This guy refused to tank anything, kept dying the entire time. And,